Well, pastors, we just watched a very passionate young lady tell us about our nation, about this whole incident about respect. Where do you come into this question about, do you kneel for the flag, or do we not? How do we come to that answer?
Well, I'd like to first of all say, thank God that we live in a country where if you want to kneel, that you can kneel. Now, again, I don't agree with it, but thank God for that spirit of our country, because a lot of places, if you were to do something like that, that may be it for you.
Yeah, would be it. That's true. Would be it for you.
Yeah, you know what, there's a couple of things here. I think one of the original questions that we were looking at is, what is a Christian's response to this, which is separate from what you had just asked, is, what do we think? I didn't fight during a war, but I am a veteran of the United States Army. And so, as for me and my house, we're not kneeling, at anything. But I think that an even greater issue is, what are you choosing to stand for? What are you choosing to stand for? If by taking a knee that you are making a stand, let's make sure that we are actually using the right verbiage to identify that. In Proverbs, this is something that I think is interesting. Proverbs 8:2 says, "Fools find no pleasure in understanding, but delight in airing their own opinions." So we got to make sure, what are we really trying to say? Because if you don't have what you're really trying to say, you're letting every other nitwit and fool speak for you, and nothing is really getting established or accomplished.
Chris, I learned a statement a long time ago. A wise man speaks when he has something to say. A fool when he has to say something. But the question, again, going back, what should the Christian's response be to those who take a knee? First thing, and I'm not trying to be super spiritual, I thought, win them. Because the fleshly response is, I've got an enemy. But the spiritual response is, how can I win them? And you're talking about, that they have a reason for what they're doing, why they're doing. But may I say this very loud and clearly, there's not a Martin Luther King among them, because they're not, they've got something that they want to bring to the forefront, but there's a right way to do it and a wrong way, and I believe they're doing it wrong.
Yeah, and I think I agree with this message 100% as far as the police brutality, things like that. It all needs to cease, but I think the way that he's going about it, I believe, is incorrect. For one, it's kind of like us if we were to say, I'm not going to stand for the reading of the scripture because a preacher didn't live the Bible. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, well, the Bible's still good. Our flag and our liberty as Americans is still good. You're not protesting against the flag. You need to protest against the problem at hand. And again, to piggyback off of what you said, I think it is important that we do show love. And that's one thing that Martin Luther King Jr. did. He showed love in the midst of it all, but he stood for the right thing. So I think the way that he's going about it is incorrect, but I think that message definitely needs to ring loud and clear that something needs to change.
Well, you know what else happened too is that the focus on now it's on, let's be honest, it's on Kaepernick. That's where the focus is. Yeah. And it's taking the focus off the real issues. There's still black men getting shot, on the streets. There's black men getting shot in their cars, and now a black man got shot in his own apartment. So, that's still going on. But now, with the focus on Kaepernick, it's almost like that's been minimized at this point.
Yeah, something else I think is worth looking at, and again, do I agree with the methodology? I don't, but I also don't come from that frame of reference. But here's something, a friend of mine who is an African-American, he is well-educated, has been in politics, now he runs a leadership organization for the University of Texas, and this is something that he said. He goes, where was all the protest as people were protesting somebody taking a knee during the national anthem? Where was all the protest for those getting their nachos at the concession stand during the same time of the national anthem? So I think that we've got to look at, if something is that important, if something is that important, are we consistent with it? Here's the difference, ready? One was there out loud in the cameras. The other inconsistencies were behind the scenes. And I think if we're going to put light on something, we need to look at it and say, okay, let's be consistent in what we're doing. Otherwise, we are making an issue out of a different issue and not really getting to the heart of an issue.
Well, isn't it, Pete, much about nothing? This is, to me, much about nothing. It wouldn't be an issue if the cameraman didn't focus on it.
You know what, Don? And that's my point, is that the only reason that we're still talking about this is because somebody made an issue out of it.
Right. So this man who was out of the league, going out of the league when he was doing this, his career was over with, was he chose to do this as a personal. Now that's between him and his employer, as far as I'm concerned. If his employer and the league say that's okay, that's his freedom to do it. He's hired by the league to play football, and he's got contracts that he's going to perform at certain levels. So that's a legal issue between him and his employer. But for a social issue, if the camera guys and the director doesn't focus on him, then it's not. No, now we got this thing happening in kids with high schools and middle schools. It has become a big issue because some director said, hey, look, that guy's not he's kneeling. And instead of being a football game, it became a social platform for some type of an appeal, which is to me, out of the nature of what that game is all about.
I think what I agree with what you're saying, but I got to get this in because I'm looking at the minutes.
Go.
Not all policemen are murderers.
No.
Not all. You know, I'm the chaplain in McKeesport, and I tell you what, I stand up for every one of our police officers. Last night, I'm there at roll call. Last night, 11:30, I was there at roll call, and I watched every one of those officers come in, and I wish you could see the looks on some of their faces, not knowing what they're going to be going into that evening.
That's good.
And I said, guys, I'm here to pray for you.
That's good.
I'm here to tell you there's more for you than against you.
Absolutely.
I mean it. We need to start. Yes, there may be one or two, maybe three or four, but not all. No. And I'm tired of this, that every police officer, I know my anger's coming out.
I think a big point, though, look at John 7:24. Jesus said, do not judge by appearances, but judge with right judgment. So look beyond what you see and get to the heart of an issue. There are issues to be discussed.
Right.
There are things to be discussed,
Chris.
but let's do it in a way that honors God while being consistent in with what we say we believe.
Well, guys, this is another one of these. Let's go to a half hour. We do this program one half-hour version. You're going to have to watch this as we produce a half hour about this topic. It's very, very important. I'm going to leave it with the scripture. Honor, 1 Peter 2:14. Honor all people, love the brotherhood, fear God, and honor the king. We don't have a king, but we have a government. We want to hear your hard questions. Why don't you call us right now, 888-665-4483, or you can email them to us at hardquestions@ctvn.org. And remember, we're going to come back. Don't go away because we need you. We need you for something. We'll get our pastors involved in this too. We need to pray about this hurricane that's hitting our nation right now. We're going to come back. We're going to pray.